Right, hang on. Right, so this is weird. Right, first of all, we'll introduce ourselves, I think, and say
Yeah.
what we're here for and why you might want to stay and watch this because you might be wondering. So I'll start with you.
Okay, so I'm Nat and I'm the crazy artist from my art page. I don't know what else I can possibly describe myself as, but there you go.
Yeah, 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 a woman of many talents. I'm sure there's lots of things we could put there. I just know you're as Nat Moss Art, and that's what you're coming up on as my screen,
Yeah,
up as on my screen as well. So yes, so you're Nat Moss Art. Welcome. I'm uh, Matthew, Matthew Williams.
just a
Yeah,
bit
that's the
your
one.
name.
Yeah, that's the one. Matthew Williams. And I set up Matthew Williams Art last year. So yeah, we're starting a podcast, aren't we?
Yeah, this is our very first one. We're not exactly that clued up on it though, are we? So
No,
yeah,
um, no, we've well, I've appeared on a quite a few podcasts really over the years, but I've never actually ran one myself. It's all right when you just I can talk for England, so when someone just asks me a load of questions, then I'm off and I'm all right. So this
well,
is a different thing.
I know you can talk, Matthew, right? And I can also talk. So
Yeah.
I was thinking these podcasts could go on for years, you know. We've got plenty of things to talk about.
That's a good point. So, like, what time are we on? So here, it's just after 20 past no, it's 20 past 11. So what,
Yeah.
should we say about half an hour? Do you reckon?
Yeah. If
So,
we can squeeze it all in at that time, but I can't promise you.
yeah. And anything we don't, we'll just carry over into next week.
Yeah.
Is that how often we're doing it? No, how often are we doing it? We don't know
I
yet.
don't know. We can do it as often as you want. We'll see
Yeah.
how it goes. If nobody
Yeah.
watches us, then maybe we might not be able to do anymore.
Yeah. And if you are watching this, you're probably getting a taste already. The fact that we'll just play things by you and we'll see how it
Yeah.
goes. And hopefully it's entertaining. Hopefully you'll want to keep watching. And yeah, and then you can say that you were here from the start.
Yeah. I'm
Right,
going to be
yo.
watching this from the beginning.
So, well, I was thinking in terms of starting off, just explain a little bit about how this came to be in terms of how we met and how this idea for a podcast came about. So, um, I mean, it's probably well, I became aware of you, I think it's fair to say, before you became aware of me.
Yeah.
So
Follow my page.
yeah, so um I started following your page. I think it probably about it was maybe about 4 years ago, something like
Yeah.
that. I can't remember how how it kind of came about because um I wasn't paid nor doing anything myself at the time.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing
I think you
some,
saw one of my artworks, didn't you see
but
my
yeah,
stuff?
I'm pretty
And then I
sure
didn't flash.
it. Yeah, yeah, and I can't think how or where it was shared, but it was. I'm pretty certain it was the Slash picture because I'm a big Guns N' Roses fan. First band I ever went to see live when I was like I was about 16 or 17. Probably
But that was fun.
just after you were born. Um, yeah, and yeah, so when I saw the portrait you did of Slash, I remember just honestly, I thought it was a photograph the first time I saw
Oh,
it.
well, thanks, Matthew.
Uh, oh no, it's fine. It's just incredible, and yeah, and I started following your page from there really, and we I mean, Facebook's like, you click to follow this, follow that, follow the other, and some of them you just never kind of see again. But I suppose because I've always liked, whatever you posted, and so because I'd engage with the posts and like them or comment or whatever, I suppose it's kept showing me your
Yeah.
yeah, your work, and so
Then
yeah,
we got chatting, didn't we? Because I was looking for some advice on writing a poetry book, and that's how we got chatting in the first
oh,
place.
is that right? Yeah, I couldn't
Yeah.
remember. It was, wasn't it? And you were
I think
asking,
you sent me like a 2 hour long voice clip.
yeah, yeah. That tends to be how our conversations go. Yeah, which
Well,
probably become clear.
you screwed, you totally screwed when you met me then because my voice clips are just the same. So yeah,
I can't
84
keep
years
up.
to get through.
I'm trying to reply and then another's coming through. Um, but yeah, that was it. You're right. And because I put you on to because obviously I'd written a poetry book before, and I put you on to
Yeah,
you're asking about publishers and how to go about it,
yeah.
weren't you? So I sent you some information. That's right. Um, yeah, that's right. And so we got kind of talking, didn't we? And then I think then I started painting. I was gonna say started painting myself, not painting myself, but I started painting and
Which
posted it.
I really loved. I loved to see that you started painting actually.
Yeah, it was
Lovely.
all very random, which we'll no doubt talk about at some point. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then so yeah, I think from that we just kind of got chatting more really. And it's one of the things I always liked about how you run the page and is that you always respond to comments. You don't just
Yeah.
feel like you feel like a real person. You know what I mean? Like when you don't feel you're engaging and liking a
Yeah.
page, but it's you as a person, and you always kind of reply and are grateful for kind of comments and feedback and encourage that. And I think that's why you've, I guess, developed a good community around what you do.
Oh,
And
thanks.
so,
I think it's
yeah,
important though. I think it's so important to reply to messages because the way I look at it, it's just like if then people can come to my page and follow my work and they always leave me such lovely
yeah,
positive feedback. And I'm just like at the end of the day, if then people are taking that little bit of time out of their lives to, spend on my page, comment, speak to me. It's just courtesy and it's just manners really to always reply. But I could never not reply because there's
yeah,
such lovely
yeah.
comments that people leave.
Yeah, and it is really nice that, isn't it? Like and no doubt this is something we'll talk about at some point where, um, actually who we're creating art for,
Yeah,
and that usually comes. Well, I'd say I can't speak for everyone. I mean, for me, and I know for you, comes from a kind of really personal place. And there's this thing, isn't there?
yeah,
And I'm a big fan of music, and I say, well, we write it for ourselves, and if anyone else likes it, it's a bonus, which is kind of true. Even if no one liked it, you'd probably, we'd still do it.
yeah.
But
I
it
don't
does,
think you can stop.
yeah, but it does mean always means a lot, doesn't it, when people take the time
Yeah.
to, say that they appreciate it, they like it, and yeah, yeah, it feels good.
I
It's a
think
big compliment.
to, to know that like so when I create a piece, it's usually for me, it's 9 times out of 10, it can be something that's personal for me, myself. So it could be something I've felt in the past and I wanted to capture that. Um, and I've always used my art as like a way of like sort of like therapy, basically. It's just a way of me sort of expressing myself, but in an art form. And I suppose when you were creating that piece and you feel like you have got them, it's hard to describe, but it's like
Yeah,
you've got them feelings inside you and you want to get them out onto that piece of paper. To know that other people can relate to it in their own way. I mean, they could have gone through something totally different to you, experienced something totally different, but they tend to relate to that piece in a personal way for them, which is quite interesting and it's really lovely because it just means that other people feel heard and seen through your artwork, which is just an amazing
yeah.
feeling.
That
Really
that
is.
that's a really good point. That I mean, brought to mind a couple of things, which yeah, I guess this is how these are going to go. Oh yeah, I don't know. But that made me think of the John Lennon,
Yeah.
John Lennon thing I saw. I think it was a Imagine documentary or something. But I know yeah, fantastic painting you did of him. What was it on a
Oh yeah.
shoebox? Was that?
Sorry.
Was it on a shoebox that you did
It
that?
was, yeah, it was actually an Adidas shoebox lid. John
Yeah,
got a new pair of shoes and I was like, I need the box. And he
yeah,
just like looked at me like, what the hell? I need the box. I just want the lid. The lid
yeah.
will
As long
do.
as you don't put paint on his new trainers.
Yeah, he took his shoes out though at this point, so he wasn't too. But he was more concerned about what on earth I needed a shoebox lid for. But he was taken back when he seen what it looked like in the end. So that was
Yeah.
good because he
Oh,
loves John
fantastic.
Lennon.
And I remember,
Thank
so
you.
he said there was a guy. I remember there's a scene of him talking with a fan, and the fan asked what one of his songs meant, and John Lennon said, "Well, it means whatever you whatever you think it means. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter what I say and think. It's not. And I remember at the time, you think, no, is he just being a dick because he must know what it means? But it's true though, isn't it? I mean, often when you express yourself, you don't necessarily know where it comes from. And I mean, one of
yeah,
the things because I write, not so much now, but I wrote a lot. That's how I kind of started off with kind of creative stuff, I guess. And yeah, I was like, it used to surprise me what came out of me. It's like, oh, where did that come from? And also what it means. You sometimes have to question what it means yourself, and then what it means might change from day to day, depending on how
yeah,
different perspective you can. And then other people bring their own perspective. So actually, yeah, it can mean a whole lot of things. And then that point you made about kind of connecting with people, and in terms, as you know, I work, around mental health, and people need to feel seen and heard, and particularly when they're going through challenging times in life, and validated, all of those things. And I think art's such a powerful way to do that. And I've seen, again, you see it with the
yeah,
comments on your, on a number of your works, and you mentioned like I know the one that stands out for me, the autism one, and
yeah,
kind of the bright colors, and when someone can see something, and that's how that's how I
yeah.
feel. It's a gift
It's
to be able to
refreshing.
do.
It's refreshing to know that somebody can relate to it. And I also think that a lot of people, um, I think a lot of people struggle to express how they feel in words. There's a lot of people out there who are more visual rather than,
Yeah, yeah,
can gather their thoughts and put that into words and explain. So I think sometimes when you do a piece of art, it kind of takes away from needing to use words. You
yeah,
don't have to say how you feel. And I think some people don't want to say out loud how they feel as well. Sometimes they don't,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
more private for them. But when you create a piece of artwork, it's like you can say how you feel out
yeah,
loud without actually saying how you feel. And I think it's a nice way to let other people know, like a little bit of insight in how you were
yeah,
feeling by them seeing the work as well.
yeah,
And if other people relate to it, then even better. I think it's nice I suppose it makes them feel less alone in how they're
yeah,
feeling too.
yeah, definitely. In that, I mean, I think, and one of the things we've kind of spoken about and I mentioned here about how
Mm.
to me, community seems a big part of what you do in terms of both
Yeah,
the way you run your page and your group, and also the yeah, like the fact that you do things, you've auctioned pieces for local causes, haven't you?
yeah.
And the artwork, the pieces that you've hid in the park for people to go and find. And again, it's that, for generally speaking, art, it's seen as a kind of a solitary pursuit, isn't it? It's something we kind of,
Yeah.
by and large, do on our own. But yeah, it has a life far beyond
It does.
the
It
thing
really
that you
does.
put out there.
I think as well with like what you said there about the park, it's just like if I can hide some pieces in the park, it gets people. I didn't expect all them people to go out looking actually. I was really taken back. But there was like lots of people who messaged, I'm in the park, I'm looking for your work. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh my God, I can't believe that. And it's nice because it means that then people have actually taken the time to go out to look for a piece of my work so they can take it home and keep it. And then not just that, it's nice because you're getting people out. I mean, a few people even messaged me and said like, I just want to thank you so much for giving me that push to go out. Because if I hadn't have gone to look for the work, I wouldn't have gone out.
it's amazing.
And somebody had mentioned they hadn't even found a piece, but they were still thankful that I'd done that. So it gave them an excuse to go
Yeah.
outside.
That's amazing. I mean,
It's
that
nice,
really is
isn't
because,
it?
like I say, I mean, I work around in mental health, and
Yeah,
this, being out in nature, being physically active, connecting with others, they're all really important things, and it can be so difficult to do. And I'm not saying that person, was kind of struggling with the mental health, but just generally, even
yeah.
if we're just in a funk off, we just can't be bothered, and you don't move from your sofa. And for the morning very easily, you soon find it at night time and you've barely moved all day. So
Yeah, it's
um,
easily done though, isn't it? I mean, I've done it myself, and when you like the lady said, when she had that excuse to go out, she'd gone out and she felt better for going out. But it's like often I'll get up and if it's a weekend and I don't have my school run, you often get like no motivation.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
when
yeah.
I go, you think, oh, I've got to go on the school run. I'm late again as usual. And then
And
I'll go out.
I'll
I'll
dress up
go,
as a bee and make it
yeah,
interesting.
dress up as a bee. Not on the school run though, Matthew. I have dressed up as the Queen though on my school run
Oh,
before.
I
That
saw
gave
the,
the teachers a few laughs.
I recognised I
You
recognised.
recognise the Queen.
Oh no, when you were doing when I saw the bee video, I
Yeah.
recognised the back lane because I used to live on that estate. I recognised the back lane because
Yeah.
there was before the estate was there on the right from your end. It was like an old was it Tollesby Hall, an old derelict place.
Oh, was it?
As kids, we used to think it was haunted, and yeah, but yeah,
That'll be a little bit before my time, that Matthew.
yeah, well, yeah, 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 back in the Victorian days, but no,
Yeah. Back when it was black and white.
yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I've lost my train of thought. I'll be doing that a lot as well.
You're
Um,
on about recognising the background on my video of me
oh yeah,
dancing as
oh
well.
no, and you saying we were on about Stuart's Park, weren't we? So just as you were saying that, I think. See, you know, you could maybe end up like, who knows where this will go? You might end up with like a permanent installation. It's like, you've got like Captain Cook, that big ball, isn't it?
Yeah.
Commemorates where he was born. You might have your own, it might be the James Cook and Nat Moss
They might have
museum.
me in
You never know.
statue form, dressed as a bee.
Um,
Oh, 1 second. My dog needs to come back in from having her
yeah,
wee. 2 minutes.
no worries. Yeah, I expect I'll be having. I don't know whether my cat's in or out. Um, I think. Well, he'll let me know if he wants anything anyway. Um,
My cat's
uh,
asleep on the bed.
um, but yeah, I was saying that about your the say the park, and again the way that your um the community element of what you're doing. I know for me that was one of the things with when I started following your your page, and when I started painting, and it was similar to when I started writing a few years ago. It's like I'm someone that I kind of like want to be able to talk about.
Yeah,
Just it. I don't know. I kind of well, it used to be overthinker, I'd say, but like kind of my brain goes off and thinks all different kind of things. And when I started painting again, it brings up lots of different things about art and creativity, which is what the broad theme of what we're doing here is. It comes from that for me. My part is just that when getting involved and you get that passionate about it, you do want to kind of share that passion and talk
yeah,
about it with someone who understands. And that's,
yeah,
I know where our conversations have always, because it is that it's like anything where you get connecting through kind of shared experiences, shared, love of something, wherever that might be.
yeah,
And we're kind of hardwired for that kind of connection as humans. And like you saying, I mean, that's such a powerful way to do it because it's like it provokes an instant reaction.
yeah. It does.
We can
It
both
can be
talk.
really powerful. And I must say, right, when you were talking a minute ago, I nearly burst out laughing because
Oh God.
my dog was eating a food and all I could hear, you, and I could just hear like noise. And so if I do look when we watch this back and you see me do a little smirk as you're talking about something really serious, that's what it was.
Oh, that's all right. I didn't know if a rat would be joining us.
Oh yeah, in a shoe.
Yeah, yeah. That was
Actually, if people do enjoy this podcast and they are interested in having rats involved, I will happily have some on my shoulders at the next one.
yeah. I should say that to all our viewers and listeners, presuming that we have some.
Yeah,
Uh,
hopefully. Fingers
that
crossed.
Yeah, it was a voicemail. Like it's funny, like it's so random. It's like, oh, hang on. What? Just was it one of your kids, wasn't it? Mom, there's a rat, oh, there's a mouse in my shoe, and it's like, all right, yeah, you don't hear that every day.
So it was actually, it was, I was doing a voice clip to you, and I think Molly shouted upstairs, Mom, there's a rat in your shoe. And I'm like, what? This is before we got rats though. So I'm thinking, what the hell? So I came down, it turned out that the cat had brought in a live mouse and dropped it. I mean, how she dropped it in my shoe is beyond me. Maybe she is a basketball player in a past life, but she put a mouse inside my trainer. And luckily, it was a little bit shook up, so it wasn't like jumping about, and I managed to catch it and put it back outside. I can only say that it probably lived a very happily life after that.
I'm
It
sure
came
it
in
did.
here.
Yeah. I was just thinking, actually, have you kind of drawn or painted many animals? Because you are a big animal lover, aren't you? You have your dog, you have
Do you know what? I was
nails.
actually thinking about this today, right? And it's so weird because when I was a kid, I honestly, right, people get shocked because I was just obsessed with animals, like animals and art, and I've always been the same. And in my bedroom, I had a cage. I had two rats in there. At one point, I had four. This is all at the same time, by the way. So I had four rats. I had a mouse and a hamster, and I had canaries in this big long cage that my dad had built into my bedroom. And I just had animals everywhere. And I would sit and draw animals a lot when I was a kid, but I don't know why. But as I've got older, it's kind of changed to like, I still love animals and I have animals quite a lot, but it's kind of like, I don't know, like I'm quite interested and fascinated by human emotion. And so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like to capture a feeling. The only
yeah,
way I can describe it is, do you know, like when you're listening to a piece of music or a song
yeah, yeah,
and the words kind of hit you a bit differently and it makes you feel like emotion inside. And it's like, I like to try and capture that in my art, like how
yeah,
you would feel when you listen to a song. Um, yeah, and I find it quite fascinating, different emotions from people
yeah.
and faces, and yeah,
That is really interesting. That's a few things that we maybe we can talk about in future ones, but that's got my
yeah,
brain whirring as well. But yeah, it's funny, because when I paint portraits mainly, I then started painting animals as well.
yeah.
Uh,
The animal ones, I mean, they're all brilliant. The animal ones are just so great. I love the colours you use in the background as well.
oh, thank you. Well,
The yellows, it's nice. It really makes the picture stand out though, the brightness of the background.
yeah, well, that's one of the things, isn't it, about how you. It's one thing I've loved about learning, kind of, you know, developing and learning different things in terms of how to, and it's that trial and error learning as you go. Like when like you say, the difference,
Yeah,
the color or the shade of the background, how that brings to the fore certain
it
features
does. It
and
really does.
connecting feature, deliberately connecting particular features with
Yeah.
the background color you've got in mind. And to me, it's like, I don't know, it's quite an intuitive thing, I think.
Have
Um,
you ever used like the color wheel, friend? Like I know a lot of artists use the color wheel and like complementary colors and all that, but do you know what? It's something that I'll openly say. So I've never really got that. I've never understood like what colors complement others. And for me, if I'm using color, I literally just throw it on and hope for the
yeah.
best. And it's somehow and my dog is munching in the background again, just letting you know. But yeah, I just throw the colours on and hope for the best. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but
Yeah,
it's a little bit about trial and error for me. I
yeah,
kind of like
same,
discovering
yeah.
it on my own.
Yeah, same, I think, because I mean, I've certainly had no training or education
Yeah.
in art. Um,
How
and
do you feel about that though? Because do you know, like when you've not studied it at college or uni or like I feel as though I wouldn't want to. That's only my personal feeling about that. And that's because I feel as though if I was taught how to do something in my head, my own little weird way of thinking, I would feel as though I'm not making my art, I'm making
Yeah,
theirs because they've taught me that how to do it. So
yeah,
I've always been one to like never ever want to study it. I just always wanted to do it on my own.
yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think there's a because, and that's one of the beauty of art, isn't it?
Yeah,
An expression. I say art. I think people tend to conjure up, painting and drawing as art, but I mean that could be any kind of form of expression or creativity. Um, I, 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 I don't know. We're all different, aren't we? And we all bring different things to it. For me personally, I don't feel I- I've I like just being able to purely do it based on my own, uh,
yeah.
like my own instinct or whatever. But I think
We have
having
a dog.
a standard can kind of help. But it's how I suppose you bring that into what you do. And
Yeah,
you mentioned the kind of the color wheel, and it is something I had a look at recently. So I've got a basic, but it doesn't drive any of the kind
yeah,
of
same.
decisions I make, or maybe subconsciously it does. I don't know, but like you, it is that kind of trial and error. I mean, my backgrounds of um, certainly of portraits, it's usually the colours I've gone for has usually been based on something about the person that I'm painting, rather
Yeah,
than rather than any kind of colour, theory. But then again, I suppose with portraits as well. I mean, you're often using a very similar color palette. You know, and that's one of the reasons I like getting into painting the animals because they get to use lots of different colors,
yeah, different
and,
colours.
and obviously there's different textures to animals that you're trying to capture. Uh,
Yeah,
but no, I think by nature I always want to kind of learn,
yeah.
develop, and grow, and
I think you're quite similar to me like that as well. It's like I think it's much more fun learning how it works and what works rather than being told this works with
yeah,
this sort
yeah,
of thing. It's a lot more interesting
yeah.
and you find your own way there, don't you?
Yeah,
Which
and I
is
know
what
because
I feel.
that's been one of the good things, like with you, is that I suppose that you kind of realize your limitations or you need to learn something when you get stuck, don't you? And it's like,
Yeah,
so I've sent things to you, say, oh, something off about this, and I'm not sure what it is, or what do you think of that? And again, it's really good with the group having that
yeah,
place where you can do that as well. Because again, you know that you're not going to kind of get criticized, and people are supportive. Um, but yeah, and that, yeah, to me, it is that it's almost like kind of little tips that you pick up along the way. I mean, one of the
yeah,
big ones for me, and you mentioned about, um, I suppose that being, you might about kind of background colors. I mean, being bold with things. I think
yeah.
initially, I,
The yellows that you use, that is really bold.
yeah.
And I do love the colours that you've put in yours.
Well, thank you, but I like, and even like, using kind of, one of the things I read was about not using black lines in portraits. And I'm like, why not? I like them.
Yeah. Have
And
you
for
read where
me,
they still use like blue and like mix it up and make it a different colour and it looks black anyway?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've
yeah,
always wondered that. I mean, it's something like, I'm obviously we're both artists, we do art, but I mean, I'm not like properly clued up on everything. I just do what I feel is right at the time.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I think black is just as a useful colour in portraiture that any other colour is really.
yeah. Well, for me, and again, it's like, you, to me, using black and white helps bring
Yeah,
out I don't know, it helps bring out different features. And like you
it
said, that,
defines.
yeah, and capturing, well, you
Mm,
said about kind of capturing feelings and emotions. I mean, it's funny because when, I've always thought like your kind of ideas, your pieces are so creative and the ideas behind them. And it's like, it's that thing when sometimes you'll think you see something, you think, oh, wow, how did you think to do that? Whereas I've thought, well, because I'm just painting a portrait, it's like, it doesn't feel necessarily creative in the same way. But for me, it is that
yeah,
capturing a look at capturing something about that person. It's finding the
yeah,
difference that captures something I see in them, or that I suppose that resonates with me in some way. And and like not having any training. And it's funny because one of the things like there's this thing about I've seen some artists say where they almost feel less kind of able to call themselves an artist because they're not trained. Whereas I
Yeah.
think, but I almost turn around the other way. It's like I see it as, well, I haven't had any training and I'm pretty good at
Put
it.
extra work in.
So that's
You know.
I see that
Yeah.
as a, and but it's funny, the
It's a
only
strength,
thing,
isn't it?
yeah, and I
Definitely a
think
strength.
in terms of music, you can have really good musicians, but you can have bands where they're not great musicians, but they make great music.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think the one I've always thought that about expression, but the one form of kind of expression of where I've found where I have been kind of wary of what people think is writing poems. It's funny you said at the start about writing poems because I don't know, and I don't know whether it's because there's a certain snobbery around it potentially, or you know, a painting you just look at and you think, yeah, that's good, or it isn't, or whatever. Whereas
Yeah,
poetry, I suppose it's I don't know, it's
I know what you mean. It sort of feels like when I was a kid, I used to write poems. I used to go
yeah,
in my bedroom, especially if I'd had like a difficult time or something had happened. I would go off on my own into my bedroom. I'd have a few rats on my shoulder and I'd be sat there with my book.
we've all done it.
It's not the greatest when you get rat wee on you when you're trying to write a poem, though, Matthew. I don't recommend it. Although
Hopefully, I'll never
it's
find out.
very good for mental health.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it
yeah,
certainly keeps you in the moment.
it does. And I just used to write poetry upstairs, but I wouldn't tell my friends I would do it. I'd feel a little bit embarrassed that I would write them. I didn't like to share
Yeah,
them so
yeah,
much. But when I look back on them now as an adult, I honestly sometimes think, God, I can't believe I wrote that when I was
yeah, yeah,
13. Like, wow, like I can't, but like I was quite, I think because I've got children myself and I'm looking
yeah,
at
yeah,
them and like thinking, could I imagine my kids upstairs writing that? Like, God, no. So it's kind of like I do look back and think, wow, why wasn't I sharing these things? But
yeah,
I
yeah,
think it comes down to confidence as well. Like if you haven't got the confidence to share them, or you don't feel
yeah,
comfortable enough around like with the people around you to share them.
yeah. That's a good question. That I think that's a good point. I think, mate, I don't
Yeah,
know, maybe that's one for the kind of watchers, listeners, that about
yeah,
how easy or difficult people find it to share their work. And see, I wonder how many people follow your page. I mean, obviously you've got the group where people share their own stuff, but I wonder how
yeah.
many people follow you that are, whether it be writing, singing, dancing, whatever, um, that have this way of expressing themselves that they don't feel confident sharing. And it's a personal
Yeah.
thing, isn't it? We don't have to share what we do, but say I
No,
think that,
it's nice to share because you get an
yeah,
insight. Well, I mean, I know Lynn from who's on my page, and she actually helps moderate my group now as well. She's a fantastic poet, and she shared quite a few of her
all right,
poems, and they're really, really beautiful. And it's nice that people feel they can share them sort of
yeah,
things because I
yeah,
know, like you said, a lot of people don't feel comfortable sharing them, do they? So it is nice that we've created, and it's not just me that created the group. Like you're part of that, and everybody who's in there as a member has helped create that group. I think of it as like a kind of like a safe place for artists to come
yeah.
together and share things. And I've been on many groups where you share your work and you'll always have somebody that has something
Oh,
negative to say.
yeah,
And you just think, why? Like, just scroll on by.
yeah,
There's no reason for you to stop and pack your words in my comment
yeah,
section. Like, nobody needs to know your thoughts. But if I mean, for me, if there's something, I mean, I might look at art and think, oh, well, that's not my cup of tea, but I respect what somebody's put
yeah,
into that,
definitely.
the work they've put into it. My pieces of work aren't for everybody. A lot of people might not like my pieces of work, but the fact is, I would just prefer somebody respected the hard work I'd put into it
Yeah,
and then just never left a comment. I mean, obviously, it's nice if you're asking for a bit of critique, I've gone wrong
yeah,
here. Can anyone tell me where I've gone wrong? I need a bit of help. Then you're sort of asking for people to
yeah,
say, well, that's wrong, and I can see this is wrong. But when it's like you're just sharing it, I mean, for me, if you share your work online and you say, this is finished, this is what it's called, this is
yeah,
my piece, you wouldn't share it if you weren't happy with it, would you?
yeah. That's
It's
a
like
good
you
point. Yeah,
wouldn't. So I just think if somebody shared a piece of work, first of all, very brave because
Yeah,
it's quite scary to share work online, to be quite honest, because you are open, you're like an open book to
yeah,
all the
yeah,
negative comments, and you're inviting them all to come and comment some hate. But it's brave to do it, but it's also it's you're obviously happy with that piece to
yeah.
share it.
There is,
So I just think negatives just shouldn't leave negative stuff.
yeah.
Drives me insane.
Yeah, I've seen some things again, and not in your group, but like you said, in others
Yeah.
where it is just kind of it's just nasty, and you think, well, there's no need for it, is there? And I there's
Even
an argument, and I remember thinking this when I first started sharing things that I was writing a few years ago, where and thankfully I didn't get many negative comments, but
yeah,
it's like I almost had this thought that, well, almost but the fact that I'm putting myself out there means I have to take and accept
yeah, you do have
like
to take
but
them.
then
Yeah,
then I
you shouldn't
thought,
have
well,
to.
yeah, I thought, well, not you no, I fully accept, like you said, that that's not for everyone. Some people won't
Yeah,
like it. That's absolutely fine. If I was bothered by that, I wouldn't post stuff
but
in the first place.
you can.
So no problem with people having an opinion. But um when someone says something nasty, and there's
Matthew, I'm so sorry. My dog, the dog's scratching to get up onto my knee. Hurry up, come on, up.
um
Oh,
but yeah,
honest to
there's
God,
just no
can't do
need.
anything with the dog. Sorry for interrupting. Go
Oh,
on.
you're all right. Uh, hello, Pepper. It is Pepper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Pepper.
Um,
She's a bit
but
camera shy.
yeah, she's very cute, isn't she?
She is. She's very sweet.
Yeah. But
Sorry
yeah,
for interrupting you
no,
there.
no, no, don't be daft. But it is, yeah, no need for that kind of nastiness. And so I just block now personally. And I suppose that's the thing I'd say, or delete and block. But to
Yeah,
anyone that is kind of, thinking about whether they post stuff and share stuff, and it's like, well, if you're sharing on your social media, it's yours. You decide what is acceptable and what isn't. And
yeah,
if you don't like what someone says, yeah, get them blocked. Because that's it.
yeah,
Everyone can have an opinion, can't they? But you're the one that's put in the work and the effort, and and like you said, had the courage to put yourself and what you've done out there.
yeah. I mean, to be quite honest, years ago when I first started my page, I think if I'd have received a bit of hate then, I think it would have quite
Yeah,
badly
yeah,
knocked my confidence a lot about sharing my work online. But if it happened now, like it doesn't bother me. I just think
yeah, yeah,
delete it, get it off. Not bothered. Like, it doesn't honestly doesn't bother me now. But that's how I know now that I'm in. Oh, Papa, you're gonna have to go on the floor. You're wriggling around. It's like that's how I know that I'm in a better place to
yeah,
share
yeah,
my work, and because I know it's like I think when you first start out it can be quite scary. You
yeah,
don't, oh, is my work good enough? I mean, when I first started, I was sending pictures of my artwork to my dad and my husband, and oh, do you think this is good enough to go on my page? And I'm asking for reassurance all the time,
yeah,
thinking it's not good enough. And now it's like because, and I do believe that all the positive vibes and all the lovely comments that people do leave on my posts has helped a great deal with
yeah,
my confidence.
yeah,
And now it's to the point where if I've done a piece of work, but it's not my usual kind of stuff, but I'm quite happy with it, I will share it.
yeah,
If it's something I'm happy with, even if it doesn't look like as good as some of my other things, but I like what it is, then I'll share it.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it's just like it's very difficult social media for artists a lot. And the other thing is, I've noticed that a lot of the people who leave the negative comments are actually artists themselves, which really makes me think, how and why would another artist do that?
yeah,
Because you would surely understand like all of the feelings of how brave it is to put it out there in the first place and how
yeah,
scary and how much it can knock your confidence getting receiving hate for your artwork. It's so wrong.
yeah. I wonder if, and I don't know, but I wonder if, there's this thing, I suppose we're in a different age now where, say,
Yeah.
anyone can share, we all got our own vehicles to share and even sell. sell our work. Whereas in the past, I suppose, like a lot of creative industries where there's kind of gatekeepers, so you can only get your work out there for gallery owner, or if you've got an agent, if you're a
Mm.
writer or whatever. So that there's gatekeepers, there's someone somewhere that has to say that we believe you're good enough to have other people see it. And now that's kind of
Yeah,
gone. And I wonder if there's still that bit of, oh, well, who do you think you are? If I had to
mm,
go through this, that, and the other to get my work out there. I don't know,
yeah.
like you say, on a human level, then someone understands what it takes. You think, well, why would you be nasty about that? It's like,
You
and if
wouldn't
you,
knock someone else's
no,
confidence when you understand what you've had to go
exactly.
through to get where you are. I mean, I've had galleries turn my art away. I've had quite a few galleries say that they don't want my work in. I've had one gallery say that they didn't feel it was good enough to go in there. It's just it's yeah. I just think if what I do struggle with is how somebody can judge whether your work is good
Yeah.
enough. Because, be careful. Did you see that? She just done a run and jump to get back on my knee, but she wanted still. So unfortunately, Pepper's going to have to stay on the floor for a minute. Um, yeah, it's like they say, don't they, that the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So therefore, I could create something that you might think, oh, that's awful. But my next door neighbour might look at it and go, wow, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I want it on my wall. So when art is so subjective like that, it often makes me wonder how other like our galleries and art people they can actually turn around and say your work's not good enough to go in our gallery, or it's not the sort of thing we're looking for, because how do they know what the people who are
Yeah.
coming into the gallery are looking for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's only a personal view of what that particular person who's running that gallery is thinking,
Yeah.
but they can't speak for other people. So I think galleries should be a lot more open as to what they're accepting in, because it's
Yeah.
it's not about what they believe is right. It's about what the audience who would come into the gallery would like to see. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
something that I have thought about before, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah. It, it brought to mind a Steve Jobs quote that I love. He says about it that he didn't do market research because people don't know what they want until you give it to them. And this idea that people can think, so it might be, say, a gallery or whoever presuming that this is what people want, but actually, and the things that make a significant impact and even change culture, they're usually things that break the mold, aren't there? And
Yeah,
that do go against the grain of what people's expectations are, I suppose.
yeah, it's very true. I mean, I couldn't say to you, Matthew, your work's not good enough to come in my gallery, because somebody could come in and go, oh, I really love this piece, and it's just like, who gets to decide? I think
Yeah,
every artist should have a chance in my beliefs. Everyone should have a chance, no matter what level they're at. If there is a level, I don't even believe there's a level, to be fair.
oh
There
yeah,
isn't really a level. I just think whoever is creating a piece of work, no matter what level they believe they're at, or what level the galleries believe they're at, I think everybody should have an opportunity to exhibit work in a gallery.
yeah,
I think everyone should have an equal chance to do that. I don't
yeah,
think you should have like a big, because I mean I've been places and they've said, well, you're not making enough money from your artwork for us to have it here. Yeah. And it's just like, I don't think that and none of that should come into it
yeah,
whatsoever. I think unless you were getting the exposure, how on earth are you meant to be, end up making money? How are you
yeah.
meant to get an audience? Why
I was
do you
going to
need the
say there's
audience
so many
ever?
factors that go into that,
Yeah,
isn't there? Yeah,
yeah. I think it would be a lot nicer if it was done slightly different for a lot of people.
yeah. Well, I think I'm look. It's midday now, so we have going from
Well, I knew we'd be here a while.
yeah. I say that we said beforehand, will we run out of things to say? No, I think we'll be all right. Yeah, I think we'll be all right. So we've managed, I think, about 40 odd minutes there. So hopefully that's been yeah, I've enjoyed it. Hopefully people watching and listening have. And Yeah, and I'd be interested in any kind of people's thoughts on anything that we've discussed and would like us to discuss. I mean, other people's comments will, hopefully moving forward will kind of inform the discussions and the conversations that we have. So kind of feedback from people would always be really useful. And, we've talked, haven't we, about potentially having guests on in the future as well.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice to have people on if anybody would like to be on as a guest and join in on our discussions. And if they feel
Yeah,
as though they've got something that they would like to add, would be nice. But yeah, we're quite open to having people in and talking, aren't we?
yeah.
Obviously this is our first podcast, so hopefully, we will get more people watching and we will improve on what we're doing as well if we need to.
Yeah, I was going to say rough and ready. I think that's the
Yeah, we're ready. Yeah,
Catherine
we have to.
Middlesbrough.
It's better to be who you are, isn't it, than somebody you're
Exactly.
not.
Exactly. And kind of the other thing I was going to say as well is that if anybody does want to feature our work in an exhibition, just get it.
Hopefully, we haven't put you off.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll find out. Well,
Yeah,
it's been great chatting, Nat.
yeah, it's been lovely.
Sorry, Nat
It's been
Hazard.
really nice.
And yeah, we'll speak again soon.
Yeah, we'll speak soon. Bye.
All right, bye bye.
Bye.